They've got a convoy. It is 10:31, a beautiful looking Friday. You're listening to Community Service here on KFUG Community Radio. Time now for the next installment. I don't know. I want to come up with a name for these segments. Our electioneering segments. I love this time of year. It's wonderful having candidates into KFUG and sitting and spending some time and talking with them. Today is no exception. Joined live in the studio, Darrin Short. How you doing today, Darrin?
Hello, Paul. I'm doing great. Thanks
so
for
I
having me.
Stipulate for everybody, candidate for District 1, Board of Supervisors. You having a good day? We're in the home stretch, John was saying the other night.
Having a good day. We are in the home stretch, yes. Just a few more days yet. Looking forward to this.
Are you out knocking on doors and such?
Certainly knocking on doors, doing a bunch of that, talking to a lot of great people. Yes.
Right on. And also joining us live in the studio from the Wild Rivers Outpost, it is Jessica Cejnar, Crescent City Bureau.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I am the Bureau.
The Bureau of One, exactly. So, first question. First off, a couple of thoughts. I love the forum the other night. That was just I posted on that. I just had a great time watching everybody interact up there. All the people, all the locals here.
Yeah, judging from your post, it did look like you had a good time. It was a good time. It was very well put on by the Norte County Association of Realtors. I enjoyed myself, and I think the other candidates did too.
Seemed like such a cohesive group. When at the end of my post, it was saying, after Board of Supervisors have been pretty divided and divisive over the last 8 years or so, and it looks like that's about to change, no matter who wins.
I hope so. I hope so. A cohesive group is better for the county. All the way around. And it was that way at the city council as well. We were a very cohesive group, and I thought that during my time there, we did some good things for the city.
So you had you were appointed for the first, and you had what was it? Was it a full half session you were appointed for, or was it a year? What was that first appointment?
That's just about correct. Richard Ania, partway into his first year, decided to hang it up, and I believe he moved out of town. So I was appointed, and then rightfully so, the city said that I should be elected at the first opportunity. Yeah. Don't want to take the power away from the voters. I totally agree with that. So then I was elected at that 2-year mark. So I spent 3 years on the city council. Yeah.
Any takeaways from that? What did you learn being a city council member?
Oh goodness, that our government moves way too slow for my liking. that was something that I guess I just didn't realize until I sat there trying to, get things done. And
do you remember a specific instance when that was the issue for you?
Excuse me. It seemed like every time we wanted to change a municipal code or something that needed to be done, it was 30 days for the reading, and then it's got to sit for 30 days, and then we change it and come back in 30 days, and it was. To me, I understand the process now, but it was just agonizingly slow in some cases.
Yeah. What can you do about that? Because it's not going to change on the Board of Supervisors.
It's not going to change. No, it's not going to change. And like I said, I get it. I get the process, because you have to give the public a chance to weigh in. And rushing something through without the public's input, properly so is wouldn't be the correct way to do it. So I don't know that can really change significantly.
Just so you have to find that place inside that you can,
yes,
you can embrace that process.
Embrace the process. Yes.
So you've had, not just the time on the city council, but you've done time in what I believe to be kind of where the rubber meets the road when it comes to local government and policy. You were on the planning commission, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I did about a year and a half on the planning commission prior to becoming a city councilman, and there was another bit of learning process. Zoning, how to build your community correctly, according to those zones, and complying with environmental laws as right. you develop different areas, and that was another learning process, but it was fun, and we were able to do some pretty interesting things. I mean, some as simple as designing what our bus stops are going to look like, or our the street signs with a little lighthouse on the top of it down toward Battery Point. Those were the kind of the fun things.
Yeah.
That we got to do.
It's like affecting real change. I mean, we're talking signs, we're talking things like that, but when you get down to it, I mean, that's kind of what local government, at least in my estimation, one of the kinds of things local government needs to be concerned with, you know.
Yes, I agree.
Potholes and streetlights and such. And I don't know, it just seems like everybody who ends up on either the city council or the board of supervisors, they should probably do some time in the planning commission, because you get into the fibers of this community, I think, a little more directly in that setting.
I know it certainly helped me out being on the planning commission first. It was definitely a stepping stone. Kind of got me, for one, acquainted with city staff and then the processes that we have to go through. So it was definitely helpful.
Mm-hmm. So also, since we're going through your resume here, you've got like 30 years in each. You've got 30 years in corrections, right? You retired as a captain, right?
Not quite that much. I did a little over 23 years.
23 years, okay.
Yeah,
but 30 years as a firefighter.
Over 30 years.
Over 30,
yeah. Yeah, I joined in October of '89. So that's how long I've been on the fire department. But yeah, 23 years as starting out as a correctional officer. But yeah, I worked my way up to captain, which is a management position.
When did you retire?
The end of April last year.
Last year, okay, because I started going. I think I saw you one time in the admin building there. Yeah,
and I went, hey, that's right. Because the radio show started out there.
Yeah, we started doing the podcast. Yeah. And I think I saw you one time, and then I didn't see you anymore. And it turns out
that's right. It's on my way out. Yeah.
So, what could you take from those two experiences as a firefighter and all the time spent doing that stuff, and then in corrections doing that?
As a firefighter, I can put myself into the homeless situation that we have here in Crescent City area. We go to homeless camps quite a bit, and we get to talk to those folks on a pretty regular basis. So it kind of brings it home. You know, I think I have a pretty good idea about where just about every homeless camp is.
Not bad, yeah.
You know, and you talk to some folks and what they're living through. It just brings it home for me and lets me know that, you know, we need to definitely work on that situation.
Can you describe some of the people that you talk with? Because I think when people think homeless, they think of, you know, people panhandling on the street, or, you know, just kind of, I mean, who are some of the folks that you've interacted with?
That is true. I think people sometimes generalize who the homeless population is, and it's a wide variety of people. You know, you've got your group that is in need of mental health services. You know, there's a guy not too far away from us here at the radio station that has been homeless for 30 years and doesn't want to not be homeless. You know, he doesn't want to live according to HUD rules, and I've been to his camp. It's not full of garbage like we've seen in the media. He lives in a relatively clean camp, and he's been doing it a long time. Another guy we go on pretty regularly is a diabetic, and so we see him on a relatively regular basis. And the other day he said he ran out of insulin. And I said, you know, I'm a diabetic. I told him I just bought a vial of insulin at Walmart. You know, that's the cheapest place you can get it. It's $24. And he goes, I don't have $24. And it just was kind of, you know, kind of heart-wrenching on one hand. And I don't know if he has other substance abuse problems or anything like that. I have not been to his camp. He usually comes out and meets us on the street.
Oh wow.
So those are just a couple of examples that you see.
Well, let's do that. I mean, that got us into the homeless thing. I'd like to get in now. We've talked about what you've done and what's got you here. I want to talk about maybe your vision for what you hope to accomplish on the Board of Supervisors. But first, let me remind our listeners, 1041 the time. KFUG Community Radio, joined live in the studio, Jessica Cejnar from the Wild Rivers Outpost, and Darrin Short, who's seeking election to the Board of Supervisors, District 1. Okay, good. Got that done. So what would you like to do? Why do you want to be a supervisor?
I'd like to... Actually, True North has kind of got the ball rolling, along with Lori Cowan, but I'd like to be an advocate and work with the community partners and get a successful program like Hope Village here. We've heard about Hope Village over in Medford. It seems to be a really successful program, and I would like to do what I can to bring that here. It's a transitional housing program that brings homeless people to be able to move into permanent housing. And while I understand that that's not going to take care of our entire homeless problem, because it is definitely a multifaceted issue, I think it's a great step in the right direction that will give these people an avenue to settle down in a home of their own and get off of the streets.
I know we've had presentations and things here before the various boards. Do you know, has anybody from local government gone over and checked it out firsthand? Because I think there's something, it's Medford, and then I think it's also Grants Pass.
Grants Pass is getting one this year.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if it's in place yet, but in 2020 they're supposed to build their. It's not called Hope Village this time. It's I can't remember the name, but
I forget what it's called too. But
yeah,
but it's happening.
But it's the same nonprofit. Rogue Retreats is the nonprofit that's building it in Grants Pass as well. But in answer to your question, I don't know that anybody has gone over there firsthand. I can't imagine that they wouldn't, being Medford's only a couple hours away.
It's pretty easy trip
but I
to
don't
make.
know of anybody. I don't have any personal knowledge of that.
Wow. So okay. So the other issues that you'd like to address, and homelessness, of course, is big and means a lot, especially to District 1. It seems.
It seems like primarily that's where the homeless are focused. District 1, District 2 in part. I'd like to, another way to battle homelessness is to bring more mental health help to Del Norte County. We really are, and I said this at the forum, we really are in a desert of mental health mental health professionals here. Getting help at Rima Vista dictates that you have to be on Medi-Cal. So to get that Medi-Cal card, you have to have a diagnosis. So you have to find a mental health professional to help you with that.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to go out of town, and you're going to wait a long time to even get a session with a therapist or a mental health professional. So it's really tough for the people who need it. Outside the homeless population, to get the mental health help we need. Heather Snow at DHHS, she's got many vacant positions in her mental health group, and I would like to partner with her and possibly Rima Vista and try and figure out how to recruit and retain more mental health professionals. And I think that may largely center around their pay scale. So we're going to have to work on that as a county.
Is that something that the county government has influence over? It seems like this is, we're sort of bridging, private sector, public sector, nonprofit sector, all of these things, and that all of this seems to happen right in the intersection of all of that.
You make a good point, and it's similar to another thing I'd like to work on is our sheriff's deputies. We have quite a few vacant positions there. We know that we're losing a lot of our leadership to retirements here in the next little bit.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah.
Next few months, even.
And next few months, that's true. And I'd like to partner with the sheriff to try and figure out ways to recruit and retain again. But when it comes down to it, the sheriff has his budget, and he gets to do with it what he wants. And it's completely outside of the control of the county. So you're right. There is some hurdles to jump there, but I think so playing that supporting role on the part of the supervisors to the sheriff and to the director of DHHS, and partnering with folks to trying to find some creative ideas to attract people here is something we've got to do. We've got to work on it.
Yeah, in several different areas, in
Yes.
different percent. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I was just
Sorry.
because I just feel like because I know you're kind of under the weather, and I feel like I've been talking a whole bunch, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't talking over you.
You're not.
Okay, good.
Thank you, though.
So, other issues that need to be addressed for countywide stuff. Homelessness, of course, is huge, but like last chance grade, all the big ticket items everybody brings up and talks about.
You know, you said something about me knocking on doors, and it reminded me of the phone call I had with Senator McGuire the other night. He wanted to talk to me when he found out I was running, so he called me, and he was curious. You know, he says, "Hey, you been knocking on doors?" Well, yeah, you got to knock on doors. And you know, he wondered, what are people saying? What are their? He said, "Give me your top three. What are they?" And I said,
Wow.
in order: homelessness, crime, last chance grade. It was a really easy question to answer.
Yeah.
Because that is what's on people's minds mostly. Last chance grade, we've definitely got the ball rolling. We're pretty hopeful that this project is going to come to fruition. Of course, it's not going to come, as fast as some people would like.
Right.
But
I'm sorry. You,
No.
you even mentioned that you mentioned when we talked the 2039 completion deadline, which means that they're going to start construction way earlier than that. I think you said
2031 is
yeah.
the estimated start date for
Yeah,
construction.
and you pointed out that's not that far away.
That's 11 years. And to some, that's a long time. But that's breaking ground in 11 years. That's... I guess maybe I'm getting too used to these long government processes. But especially after talking with the geotechnical engineer that came and did the geotechnical open house a few weeks ago, I got to spend some one-on-one time with him, and he talked about the alternate routes and doing studies on some of the existing slides that are within those routes and those kind of things, and how long that takes. And they're still working on last chance grade and talking about ways to shed the water off the side of the mountain so it won't move so much. Doing things like that. And he talked about how it seemed to me like the longest route, I think, is Route A. And he
Like
says
from the bottom on the other side.
from the
all way
bottom,
in, yeah.
yep, going through the largest majority of the route is in land that has already been logged. So that's kind of quote unquote the easy way, because you don't have all the challenges of court battles or
Right.
the environmental.
So it slips
things.
mostly onto Simpson land. Is that what it is back up there, or is it?
I think it still belongs to the park.
Oh, okay.
It was old Miller Redwood land.
It's
Gotcha.
just not
Gotcha.
old growth.
Yeah.
It's just not old growth, correct.
Yeah.
But then he gets to the point where we're just a matter of less than a mile from the end of that route through old growth redwoods to tie into the existing road above last chance grade. And his comment was that it will almost be easier to dig under the trees and build a tunnel,
Oh man.
or build a bridge up in the canopy of the trees, than to fight the court battle that's going to result as the result of trying to cut down an old growth redwood.
Now that mile is that in all the other routes as well? If it's close to the end and near the tie-in, or is it just in that one?
Yeah, it's in the other routes where where they tie in vary by not very much.
Yeah.
But yes, that is the big worry.
Wow.
And it's I got to commend them. They're trying to bring in those stakeholders that are those groups that will be taking part in those court battles early on.
But that's like UNESCO, right? I mean, is that the World Heritage Site part that they're talking about up there? Is that
that is one route.
I mean,
yeah,
you've got
it just amazes me that we have to notify the UN
to put
if we're gonna work up there. It's really, really amazing.
That's that's a Del Norte specific challenge, I guess. Then, right? You know, how many other supervisors have? Okay, let the UN know what we're doing.
Have to talk
Well,
to the
I
UN
wonder
about
if other, you know, UNESCO World Heritage sites, you know, places that are housing these areas have to do similar things.
Yeah.
In order to get going, because to me, accelerating the project, I think would, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to interject my opinion, but it would be, to me, almost inviting trouble, like almost inviting delays, because you're going to get those folks that are going to be like, okay, we're going to take this to court because it's a World Heritage site. You shouldn't be able to do this.
I agree, and I think that's what is taking the majority of the time in this projected timeline that Caltrans has, is that they are going to do what they can to mitigate that problem right there at the end. You know, right when the design phase is done and we're just about to break ground, some court is going to file, or, you know, somebody's going to file an injunction.
Yeah.
So if we can hit that on the front end and work to where those groups will be satisfied with the plan, that'll be huge. I mean, the 199 project alone, we've been in court battles for 11 years now, 11 plus years. So we need last chance grade. We need to not be tied up in court for 10 to 15 years, and to an immense cost to the people as well.
Yeah, just even thinking, every time I go over that, I remember just in my mind, I can see, having done it, I'm sure everybody here locally, you can see this now, and how much it's changed, how much last chance grade has changed, just in my conscious memory, right? You know, that one dip where the patch is there.
The big dip didn't used to be there.
Didn't used to be there, yeah.
Did not used to be there.
Cool. And yeah, every time I'm driving, especially when my kids were younger, every time we'd have to stop at the light, we got to sit on top of this. Yeah, I know.
Right.
It seems counterintuitive, but yeah.
I think I was telling Jessica during our interview, when I came home from school, my wife and I were traveling back. We're listening to the radio as we're coming into town, and Caltrans made an announcement then, because the road would fall and then they'd overlay pavement, and it would fall some more and they'd overlay. They said at one point, one place on the grade, the asphalt was 52 feet deep.
Oh God! Wow, you patched it up that much.
They patched it that much, and that was 1988. So who knows?
Wow.
Yeah, who knows what it is now?
One thing I like to ask everybody running for office, because it's I don't know, just a pet issue of mine. There's a dynamic. I assume, being in public office, you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a dynamic of, like, you balance the vision, the wishes of your constituency, the people you represent, with your own sort of agenda, I guess, or just, your background perspective, what you bring to it. How do you see that dynamic, that interplay? Are you elected to represent your constituency like 100%? Or are you elected to achieve something, a vision that you've presented to your constituency, that you bring to the thing, and your role is now to execute that?
I view my role as being a representative of the people. One of the questions that the realtors had, one of the 23, was, do you have any pet projects? And my initial thought was, well, I'm not going to need 2 minutes for this one, because the answer is no.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't. Been pretty wide open about what I hope to accomplish, and there's nothing else there. I do believe that I need to represent the people that are in my district, and I get in trouble with some people. Like, we had the marijuana question that was asked of me at the forum. My mother-in-law is against the passage of Prop 64, and she hasn't appreciated me dealing on the city council like I did, and I do believe that the voters have spoken. While I personally believe that just kicking the door open and having a free-for-all probably wouldn't be the healthiest for our community, and I don't believe that's what the intent of the law was. So But
yet that's what's happened in other places too, and we all had the chance to see how legalization's played out in Humboldt and what a mess that's been too. So it's nice to learn from that.
True. And Blake Inscore traveled down there with, I believe Heidi Kime went with him during that time, and they saw some good and bad, and trying to learn what would be best for passing our ordinances here. And like I said there, we passed the ordinances minimally complying with the law that the voters voted in. And that's not keeping us from going back and revisiting it and making some changes if we need to. It's the usual order of business. When somebody comes up with an idea or something, we'll take a look, and if it's good for the community, we'll move toward that. So my personal beliefs, in that that's, I guess, is the best example, because I don't believe that recreational marijuana is good for our community, but I voted the way I thought the constituents were in agreement, and that they showed us in the polls, and that we should allow that. So that was a conflict for me, but I think it's going to be okay.
So, how does that kind of philosophy translate into what county supervisors are doing now, which is to, they started off with a very limited commercial cannabis ordinance, and now they're looking at expanding it a little bit. They've agreed to reduce the setback zones between one cannabis retail and another. They've reduced the setbacks from cannabis businesses and schools from 1,000 feet to 600 feet, and they're looking at making some areas of Smith River to be okay for cannabis businesses to operate. Would you support? Do you support those actions? And if not, why? I do. I understand the school setback issue was brought about because we discovered that juvenile hall was quote unquote a school. Right.
While Paul's chuckling.
I like that.
I totally get it.
So yeah, like Rob moves over there and he opens business. He's got Sticky Grove and everything like that, and then everybody in the community kind of goes, "Oh right, juvie." And it's like we remembered it all after the fact.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's been there the whole time.
Right.
And you read the intent of the law, and it's pretty clear, in my opinion, that we don't want the children in our community and those, the youth to have easy access. Let's not walk across the street from the school and have access to recreational marijuana. I don't think the kids in juvie are getting out and walking around that much. So
yeah, right. Yeah.
I think I don't know if we could have drafted an ordinance that made that exception locally. I did hear the argument, and especially after they gave him Rob the business license, then they went, oh, like you said, oh man. It was.
I don't mean to laugh at our local government. I really
no.
It's kind of like they stumbled into that.
It truly is. It truly is. But then you're committed now.
Yeah.
Are you going to really yank his permit away from him
Yeah, that
after the
wouldn't
first
be
year?
fair.
Well, then you're going to get sued, and that's going to cost, who knows how much to the county. Really it boils down to the taxpayers of the county. So I understand them reducing that to mitigate the loss to the taxpayer. As far as commercial growing in Smith River, I missed that conversation. But if somebody is going to kick off that football and see what they can do with it, more power to them. Like I say, the voters have spoken.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So if we can make a go of it and do good things, I guess we'll see how it goes.
One thing, I think you would maybe fortunately I think you'd gone, you'd left because you didn't, it was you resigned, retired from the city council. I forget what that was.
It came up to election time.
And did you just not declare? Is that what happened?
I did not declare.
Okay, that's what. Okay.
I intended on applying to be the fire chief.
Okay.
Because Steve had his stroke, and we knew that Steve wasn't going to return as fire chief.
Right.
And I had put some thought into that. Somebody, sometimes they ask you a question like, "Hey, are you going to be the fire chief?" And my response was, "Yeah, this weekend is my turn. I'm going to be the chief." And it just did not click. And he looked at me and he goes, "No, are you going to be the fire chief?" And that kind of took me back a little bit, and I was like, "No, well, I guess I could be the fire chief," So after some thought and talking about it with my wife, I intended to do that. So I didn't run for city council. Certainly wouldn't be fair to the voters if I was voted into city council and then a matter of months later go, "Oh, hey, sorry, can't be a city councilman anymore." I didn't think that would be the right thing to do, so I didn't declare. Then after Steve passed away, it was kind of an attention getter for me, and really took the wind out of my sails for wanting to do the job.
Really?
Because I retired from the prison young, but Steve was 63.
Wow. Yeah.
And that would make my daughter 23 if a similar event happened to me.
Ooh.
And I'd kind of like to be here for my family a little longer than that. I know it's a job that takes its toll. Obviously it did for Steve. And Steve served this community better and more actively than anybody I can think of. To run calls 24/7, 7 days a week is not only stressful on your body, but stressful for family life. Incredibly rewarding. Don't get me wrong. It's really a rewarding thing to be on the fire department and to help people. But that's what it boiled down to. Is when he passed, it was kind of a message that no, this isn't the right thing for you.
Wow,
this is not the right thing for you to do. So,
that had to be difficult. 30 plus years. Yourself as a firefighter.
It really was. Yeah.
Huh.
So I'm still going to stick around the fire department. I'm a battalion chief there, so I kind of have a little leverage on, trying to get things to go the way I think they should go. But it boils down to the chief, and we have a great one right now. Bill Gillespie is just a great guy. We're really fortunate to get him up from Humboldt County. And I just love working with the guy. He's a great all-around leader, knows his fire business really well, and is serving our community like our community deserves.
Wow, that's excellent. I had no idea that you'd faced mortality like that over this issue. That's wow.
It really was an attention getter. Yeah.
So I brought up your exit from the city council because I think if memory serves, that means that you weren't there sitting through all the Martin v. Boise stuff, right? And the ordinances, the homeless ordinances, the parking, sleeping in cars and everything.
That's correct. Yeah.
That does affect the district that you're running to represent in the Board of Supervisors very heavily. Any thoughts on all of that, on Martin v. Boise, on the subsequent ordinances that the city council passed?
The Boise decision made it tough. That was a challenge. And we are, as the city and the Board of Supervisors are working through that, and we're finding little ways to make it better. Finding out what Boise meant and what it didn't mean on the backside of that. doing things, small things like Lori Cowan had signs put up at all the turnouts on Pebble Beach Drive. There's no camping allowed there. That's in compliance with Boise decision. So, we're discovering these little things bit by bit, and just, realizing that we don't have to let the homeless camp all day long in Beachfront Park, and down on our beaches, and still be in compliance with that decision. Being out of compliance with that decision would be a disaster for the coffers of the city and the county.
Even if subsequently downstream that the city won any sort of court battle that ensued, it's still going to be a big hit. It's still going to be a lose-lose.
It's
sort
still
of situation.
your municipalities that win in those decisions still are stuck with the bill.
Yeah.
The other side does not have to pay when they're fighting a municipality. Some people may not realize that, but yes, it would still be a big hit, win or lose, just exactly like you said. So we're working through that little by little. I think some creative thinking is what we need to continue with. Somebody brought up something like, I think the word was staging areas a while back, and from what I understand, it was shut down pretty quickly.
Really? Because from my experience, it's taken a good 7 or 8 years for that idea to be bludgeoned to death. And it seems now that what Jerry Johnson was initially talking about from the VFW and working with veterans and homeless veterans was that staging area, the idea of it providing wraparound services and things like that has been folded into the whole Hope Village thing. So it seems like it's still alive in my mind, but I cut you off. I'm sorry. Please finish your thought.
Well, you apparently know more about the staging area than I do. I heard very little about it, and how the rumor mill goes in Crescent City.
I'm interested now. What'd you hear?
Right. It's like I heard it on Facebook, so it's got to be true, right? What I heard was that it was brought up, and just because of who brought it up, it was shut down.
I was going to ask that, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, we need to explore these ideas, no matter who brings them up. And I get the world we live in right now is not very friendly in some cases on the board, and that we just need to get by that and get to a better place where we can work together.
Do you want to translate all that?
Yeah.
Do I want to translate?
Do we need to translate?
Do we translate? Okay, we won't translate if you want to say it like that. But I think you're absolutely right. I think we are actually coming to a point now with the incoming board, whoever wins, that sort of dynamic is going to be diffused, and people will be on the same page.
It'll
hopefully.
definitely change.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if not totally be diffused, but hopefully that divisiveness will be lessened somewhat.
I was going to ask if the staging area idea had died for that very reason, because it occurred to me that might have been why. Just
like I say, that's just what I heard through the rumor mill. Yes, and we know that's incredibly accurate.
Getting an inside scoop into Downlord politics here with Darrin Short on KFUG Community Radio. Darrin's running for election to the Board of Supervisors, District 1. We're just a couple of weeks away from that. Darrin, of course, live here in the studio, as is Jessica Cejnar from the Wild Rivers Outpost. It is 10 minutes into the 11 o'clock hour. You tuned to KFUG LP Crescent City. It's a little late on the legal ID. Apologies, but there you go. Okay. All right. So I like people who are elected and want to achieve like nuts and bolts kind of things. Not the sexy stuff. We're not going to have big 6-hour long things but just potholes and street lights. Are there other issues in your? Geez, give me a heads up when you're going to do that. And I also want to say there have been times when people listen back, when you listen back to this interview, where you'll say something and you'll hear Jessica kind of go. It's because she's sick. That was not an exasperated sigh of commentary or anything. She's sick over there.
Can you really hear me do that?
A couple of times I did. It's okay. I didn't want to say anything, but then now I did.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to be all self-conscious, but that's all right. That's not a new feeling.
Yeah, I know, huh? Yeah, you can deal with that. But so other, just sort of that kind of nuts and bolts sort of things that you'd like to accomplish. Everybody, other issues that come up maybe farther down on that list that you provided for Senator McGuire. But Front Street, that's in your district, correct?
Front Street's in my district, but it's in the city.
Yes, you don't have to deal with that, right? Is there anything the county can offer, though, as far as, assistance, a kick in the pants? I know things are moving on that front. I know there's funding.
It is for half of it. Yes, we got funding for half of it, so that's good news for the people of the city. While I was on the city council, my thought was that the city and county road department could work together somehow. My crazy vision of not knowing how the world works was that we could send crews out with the road crew and we could use their equipment and help them on one of their projects. Then they could come into town, because they have the equipment.
Right.
The city does not have the equipment
And
to do roads.
that's a great human sort of idea to come up with, right?
And I was like, I got a great idea. Yes. So I went to Jay Serena and said, hey, can we do this? And he goes, it's a great idea, Darrin, but all of our equipment is bought with federal dollars, and we can't put any of our equipment on a city street.
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's like it just killed it. You know what I mean? And it still kind of bugs me that we couldn't. I mean, even if they were paid for with federal dollars, if we're doing good things for the community on both sides, in the county and in the city, why couldn't we make that work? But our wonderful rules are what they are, and we need to try and work through them on the backside.
I know it doesn't make for good governance, but I always just kind of want in situations like that, if people could just go, can we all just agree not to tell anybody? All right,
right.
Just as a community, we all know,
Yes. Right?
But just don't tell Sacramento, don't tell Washington.
It just makes me realize that you and Lori are unique in that your districts share, your governing bodies overlap with the other major governing body in this community, which is the Crescent City Council. So, where do you, especially for your district, do you have to compromise to a certain extent in what you'd like to accomplish? Maybe it requires working with the city more, which obviously you can do because you've worked on the city council and the planning commission.
Yeah, if I can.
Yeah, or will it be like the road situation in which you seems like you should be able to work together, but you actually can't?
Right.
As far as the overlapping, what do you want to say? Boundaries, I guess. I think we can work to support each other when we can. Obviously, when the rules say we can't, because don't you put that paver down on that city street.
What's boss's paver doing on the road here?
Right. It was the wheel loader.
I mean, my vision was, especially, we talked about half of Front Street getting fixed. That is from H Street West.
Right.
That drainage project was for residential areas, and that kind of made it so the east of H Street was out because it primarily affects businesses. But if we could, had my vision worked out, bring those pavers down to Front Street when we fired up the pavement plant, and do the rest of it while they're there. It's the cheapest. I've had so many people say to me, I understand that road was built on sand and there's logs and they're like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Just fix the stupid street. Just pave over it. I don't care what it needs to have done under it.
That's not a sustainable situation, right?
Yeah.
No, and a lot of people say that wouldn't be the wisest thing to do with the city's dollar. But then there's the other opinion that road is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And we need to do something about it sooner than later.
It's like driving low divide. It's like
low divide's smoother. Yeah.
I know. Wow.
I want to be there when they rip the road up.
Right?
I'm just saying, because I want to see what's underneath it.
Right. It's all the
redwood logs and the debris and stuff
That'd be interesting.
It will be fun to watch. That's true. That is true.
We'll have to give Eric Weir his own show, and he can. That would be awesome. Well, no, I guess he's city manager now. He doesn't get up to his elbows in dirt out there anymore.
Oh, no.
Does he?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he does.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I was going to say Eric's got clean fingernails now. But no, he gets into it.
16 minutes after 11, we're sort of nearing the hour that we blocked off for this. I want to throw this out there. Is there something that we haven't addressed that you would like to address about your vision for Del Norte County, for District 1, anything at all?
I think we've covered most of it. I like we said earlier, I don't have any hidden agendas. No pet projects really. We talked about some of the major things that we've got to focus on, and keep that ball rolling on last chance grade. Down last chance grade, maybe. Maybe we shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I don't want to put down last chance grade.
I can't imagine. I'd like to, and at some point, I'd like to walk the other routes too. I mean, I've heard it never occurred to me that there are slides on the backside of that too. Just the same thing, and that's like
some minor ones, but they're trying to. The geotechnical engineer said we're trying to shy away from those. We saw it on the bypass down at Newton B. Drury. The Warwick bypass when that opened up. There was still some slides that happened in that, but it's some minor stuff.
Yeah.
That we'll have to work through, and they're just trying to build a project where they won't have to experience that when they're done. But
I don't know if anybody else does things like this, but I drive the bypass down there by Newton, and oftentimes I'll just take the old road anyway because I like that driving through it.
Yes.
But when I have to go over I think to myself, and this is such a nerdy thing to think. I think, what a wonderfully engineered road, because it really is. I mean, it's the curves are right, the banking's right. I'm like, wow, right on, good for us.
Yeah, it is wonderfully and all the drainage. That
right,
you had to,
right.
It is a pretty incredible road. And the bridge that's on the south side of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Multi-level, starts higher and ends lower, and it's a curve.
Yeah.
To build that bridge cost as much as the rest of the project.
Wow.
So, kind of puts into perspective when they say that they may want to build a bridge into the canopy of the old growth forest, so they don't.
And it also puts into perspective too when you talk about okay, we're going to break ground in 2031. It's going to take 7-8 years to finish this because that's not just at the outset. Remember Bob talking about he and Chuck Blackburn were going to get together and with the bulldozer and we'll have the bypass done in 5 years. And there's a part of me that was like, yeah, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe there's more that needs to go into this than.
Yeah, and initially I thought, I worked at Miller Redwood, and have driven quite a few of the back roads that was the Relum Redwood property, and there's some good. I mean, you have to build a good road if you're going to drive an off-highway logging truck.
Yeah,
that's carrying, our highway trucks carry. Or they weigh 40 tons. Just the load on the off-highway trucks was 100 tons.
Wow.
So, so there was some really good roads built back there.
Yeah.
So that was my thought was, let's just use those routes and get through there. But then you think about it, there is a lot of switchbacks. Not the widest parts of the road in there. So initially I was like, yeah, we can get it done. Yeah, fast.
Yeah.
We'll throw some pavement down, stripe it, we'll be good.
Get Hemmingson on the phone, right? Let's get
right. But there's quite a bit more to it.
Yeah. So as we said when we started this, we're coming into the home stretch. You have special events. You have anything out there you want to hit the people to?
No more events.
No, are you done?
No more events. Knocking on doors. I was at home right before the radio station show, putting stickers on some postcards that I'm going to send out. One last little push.
What do you have planned for election night?
There is a vacant shop that's on 3rd Street, and I'm going to put on a little shindig and do the watch party and invite friends and family and just have a good time.
So is it cool if we stop by because we're organizing?
Yeah, we might crash it.
Yeah. kind of
Well,
a...
heck yeah.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We've got a big election night planned with the youth journalists we have in KFUG Community News as well. So we're
good
going to
deal.
get out into
Yeah.
the community and
Well,
get
yeah.
people on the phone and
Come
do
have a
stuff. Yeah.
snack or two, and
Right on.
yeah,
Great.
That'd be great.
Okay, cool.
Love to see you guys.
Well, Darrin, anything else? Anything you want to add?
No.
All right.
No, this has been great. Thank you, Jessica and
Thank
Paul.
you.
All right. Thanks for coming
Been
in.
cool to have. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever been on radio, so
I'll apologize for that because you've been in government for so long, and this is the first time. So
this is it.
We'll have you
No.
back on a regular basis.
Good deal.
All right, Darrin Short, thanks for joining us today.